Shabbat.
It is my pleasure to welcome you to our Erev Rosh Hashanah service and to the Rabbi Louis J. Siegel Sanctuary here in Teaneck, New Jersey. This evening, we have returned to our spiritual home to engage with our annual process of teshuvah, tefillah, and tzedakah, repentance, prayer, and charity. Before we do that, I'd like to just offer a logistical orientation. First, I ask that you wear your High Holy Day ticket as a name badge. We introduced this feature before the pandemic, but it is especially useful now. For some, this is the first time in the temple in 3 years. And for others, we can only see part of your face. But wearing a name tag helps us feel like a community again. Tonight, in addition to all the security features of our building, many of which you cannot see, we are protected by our ushers and our security firm. But security is everyone's responsibility. So if you see something unusual, please tell one of our security team members so that they can address it. If in the unlikely event there is an emergency that requires us to call 911, please notify an usher so that the call can be routed through someone with knowledge of the building and our procedures. Please take a moment right now to silence your cell phones. Recording devices and cell phone use are not permitted in the sanctuary during the service. If you're bored, and I'll admit that happens to the best of us sometimes, direct your attention to the blue pages in our prayer book, not to your Twitter feed. The blue pages have supplemental readings intended to enhance your experience during the service. Speaking of the prayer book, the machzor that we will use at this service is the Mishkan HaNefesh Gold Volume. The title means the dwelling place of the soul. And I think that is fitting, since at this time of year we strive to nurture our souls and give them a place to thrive. The Hebrew month that ended a few moments ago was called Elul. As a word, Elul doesn't really mean anything. But as an acronym, interpreters love to reference a line from Song of Songs. Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. During Elul, the days get shorter and the air becomes crisp with the smell of autumn. Elul has the most beautiful Haftarah portions and the moving ritual of Slichot. And the Elul acronym reminds us that we are in a covenantal relationship of love with God. At this moment, as Elul retreats and Tishrei arrives, we now act on that love. The covenant gives us a mutual purpose and motivates us through love and devotion. It inspires us to grapple with difficult texts and uncomfortable truths. And so we enter a new year, understanding that we have a new chance to engage with our ancient tradition. We begin our service in Mishkan HaNefesh on page 6, at the bottom of the page. Please join in singing with Temple Emeth in our opening song, Hava Nashira. The next part of our service is the lighting of our Yom Tov candles. The lighting of the candles is found on page 11, but is preceded by a reading in English on page 10, reading number 2. We call upon Marcia Shapiro to light our candles.
All the stars are hidden, and the moon is dark tonight. In the wide expanse of heaven, north to south, not a ray of light. Light a bright candle in my heart's shadow tent, and through the wide expanse of heaven the light will shine. Where there is sadness, let us offer love. Where there is fear, let us reach for hope. On this eve of the new year, may we bring light to one another. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic light, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on this festival. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'achiyanu v'kimanu v'hiyanu l'zman hazeh. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic light, giving us light, upholding the light within us, and bringing us to this time.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu
We turn now to page 12 as we read responsibly in English. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. This is the season of the soul, a time to rejoice, a time to reflect, a time to return, a time to gather around the table with loved ones and friends, a time for song and silence, for prayer and confession, to open the heart, a time to retreat to our sanctuaries within, a time to renew the life and spirit of our community.
This is a season of attentiveness, a time to notice what has unfolded and what was not, a time to forgive, a time to remember our dreams, our high ideals embraced by reality.
This is the season of hope, like mist rising at sunset, like dew descending at dawn. Our hopes beautify and nourish everything they touch. Our hopes make us partners in creation, pursuers of peace, people who aspire to a world of justice.
This is the season of awe, when our eyes each other. Let us be strong.
We continue on page 15. Please rise if you're able. We turn to page 19. Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Yehi Ratzon Shenizkeh Livchotecha Bishnat Chameshet Alafim Ushmonim V'Shalosh. Our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5783. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. We remain standing as we turn to the top of page 26. We read together in English at the top of the page. We accept God's sovereignty in reverence, treating others with love, devoting ourselves to Torah. May this be our will as we witness. We turn to page 32 as we read together in English. Truth and faith, these are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, the giver of life, would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs and portents in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel out from its midst to enjoy freedom. Witnesses to this heroic might, the people thanked and praised God by name, freely accepting the rain of heaven. Then Moses and Miriam and all Israel sang to you, this song of utter joy.
Shmai, say,
We turn now in Mishkan HaNefesh to page 40 as our service continues with Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabah. Ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei chayechan u'v'yamechan u'chayei kol beit Yisrael v'adavar v'zman kariv. Yehi Shemei Rabah Yitpa'ar v'yitolam v'yitnaseh Yitadar v'yitalev yitalav Shemei Dekudisha Leila u'leila Mikol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata
We turn now to page 42 for the Tefillah. Please rise if you're able for Tefillah.
Adonai sifatai kitafu via kitilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim, Tovim v'Bnei Akol, Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imot, U'Megula Libnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahavah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הקולות הרב להושיע מוריד הטל.
We turn now to page 49. Ata kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, kadoshim b'chol yom yihalalucha selah. You are holy, your name is holy, seekers of holiness praise you day by day. Selah. Please be seated. We turn now to page 52 as we read together in English. You and you alone, Adonai, will reign over creation upon Mount Zion, home of your presence, and in Jerusalem, a city set apart by you. As the psalmist believed, Adonai will reign eternally, your God, O Zion, for all generations. Hallelujah. We offer now a prayer for peace found on page 67. We read responsibly, great is peace, for all blessings flow from peace. Great is peace, for even in times of war, the hope for peace is undiminished. Great is peace, for peace is the inheritance of the righteous.
Great is peace, for peace is granted to those who love and respect the Torah.
Great is peace, for peace is granted to the humble.
Great is peace, for peace is granted to those who do justice.
Great is peace, for God's name is peace.
Great is peace, for peace is equal and faithful to all parts of creation.
Great is peace, for even heaven needs peace. Behold, if peace is needed in heaven, where neither hatred nor strife is found, how great we need for peace on earth, where hatred and strife abound. Baruch atah Adonai, Oseh HaShalom. You are the Blessed One, the Eternal One, our source of shalom. We take a moment now for Tfilat Halev. Inspirational readings for this time are found on pages 68 through 71. To prepare for that moment, I ask that you turn to page 74. Avinu Malkeinu, strong was the faith of generations before us. In exile they proclaimed enduring hope. In the shadow of persecution they affirmed a transcendent love and compassion. Ours is a different age, less confident and certain, more tentative in its trust. There are many who say to the works of their hands, "You are our gods." But when our worship centers on our own creations, we feel less gratitude, more doubt, and despair. This is the paradox of our spiritual lives. We grow smaller in self-exaltation, nobler when we reach for you. On this night of return, let us find the humility to come close to you and open ourselves to your presence. For you are absent only when we fail to make room for you in our hearts, distant only when we turn away from you. Now, as others have done before us, let us overcome doubt and speak these words of affirmation. We call you Avinu. As a loving parent, forgive our wrongs and failings, accept us in our human frailty. We call you Malkeinu. As sovereign of our souls, help us to rise from our brokenness to build a world of shalom. To this vision, we offer ourselves anew. We continue with Avinu Malkeinu, page 76. Please rise. Avinu Malkeinu, Ein Lanu Melech Ela Ata. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, you alone are our sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu, L'ma'ancha Rachem Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake, show us mercy. Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh Imanu L'ma'an Shmecha. Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name. Avinu Malkeinu, Shlach Refuah Shlema L'cholei Amecha. Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us. Avinu Malkeinu, Pra Roa Gazar Dinenu. Avinu Malkeinu, allay the harshness of the decree against us. Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu B'Sefer Geula V'Yeshua. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption and renewal. Avinu Malkeinu, Zochrenu B'Zichron Tov Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind. Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh L'ma'ancha V'Hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us.
Avinu
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha. You shall love the eternal your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. This well-known verse from Deuteronomy follows the Shema and is a part of our evening and morning liturgy known as the Ve'ahavta. In this way, it is central to Jewish identity and the nature of our relationship with God. Nonetheless, I have always had reservations about a command to love. Ought not love be given freely? We cannot demand love from our family members, or at least we cannot reasonably expect someone to accede to such a demand. And yet the Torah commands that we love God. When we take a closer look at the full paragraph of the Ve'ahavta, what we see detailed there is not so much an emotion, but a set of actions. In short, what is commanded is not the emotion itself, but the outward expression of that emotion. We show our love to God in the way that we behave. That there is a link between feeling love and acting loving is no great revelation. But 30 years ago, a Christian minister with a specialty in adult education took a great step forward in categorizing these behaviors. In 1992, Gary Chapman authored a book entitled The 5 Love Languages. In it, he argued that each of us has a primary love language, and that married couples often have difficulty if the spouses do not speak one another's love language. I was not aware of the book when it was published in 1992, nor, to be honest, for the 30 years that followed. But the press coverage marking the 30th anniversary of the book piqued my curiosity. If we speak a particular love language in our romantic partnerships, can we speak them in other relationships, especially our relationships with God? I might be onto something, because after writing his first book about how love languages play a role in marriage, Chapman went on to write several more books on how love languages shape dating relationships, friendships, workplace relationships, and more. And though he has written about relationships with God from a Christian perspective, I thought it would be useful to apply the same framework in a Jewish context. Comparing human relationships with divine relationships can be tricky. They can be similar, but not the same. There is a different power dynamic, a different sense of intimacy, and a different expectation of communication and reciprocity. According to Chapman, there are 5 love languages. They are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. He takes pains to say that each of us has a primary love language, but we can speak any of the 5 from time to time. Searching Jewish tradition, I believe we can also connect to God through any of the 5 love languages. For example, much of our Siddur is filled with words of affirmation directed toward God. In fact, the first 3 prayers in the Amidah are specifically devoted to praising God. In Hebrew, this is called Shevach. We use phrases like Ha'el, Hagadol, Hagibur, V'Hanorah, El Elyon, the great, mighty, and awesome God, God supreme, and Atah Kadosh, V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim B'Chol Yom Yehalalu Chasela. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you daily. Of course, the argument can be made that as much as we are commanded to use these words of affirmation toward God, it is not because God needs to hear them, but because we need to say them. The act of uttering them improves us and shows us capable of love. The second love language is acts of service. As his classic example, Chapman speaks about how much it means to his wife when he vacuums the house. Known in Hebrew as Gemilut Chasadim, acts of service reflect an implicit thoughtfulness and offer the most opportunity for originality. Volunteering one's time meets this criteria, but specifically the things that no one else will do because they are unpleasant or inconvenient. We offer acts of service to God when we care for the people created in God's image that society has marginalized: the refugee, the addicted, the mentally ill. It requires patience and selflessness to speak this language of love. The next love language is receiving gifts. In our Jewish vocabulary, we call it tzedakah. While it is admirable to give to museums, universities, and other institutions, and indeed I do this myself, the tzedakah I believe best shows love to God is the giving that increases a person's dignity. It is for this reason I also give to anti-hunger, pro-refugee, and emergency relief organizations. These funds often make a life or death difference to the people who are served by them. The fourth of Chapman's love languages is quality time. This was the hardest one for me to translate into Hebrew, but the word I ultimately chose was yichud. Yichud is the time a newly married couple spends together in isolation immediately after the chuppah ceremony. People make jokes about what goes on in yichud, but what I tell couples I work with is that this is the time for them to appreciate their new status. Amid all the excitement, this is their time to take a deep breath and be genuine with one another. I believe we do this with God through study. Jewish study takes all forms, from reading a book on your own to attending a class weekly. It can be regimented or free-flowing, in person or virtual. Studying a Jewish text is an attempt to spend quality time with the author, and for so many texts, the author, metaphorically at least, is God. The last love language is physical touch, which in Hebrew is nigiyah. Look at the opportunities our tradition gives us to put our hands on something sacred. As the Torah passes by during the Hakafah, our inclination is to touch it, either with our hand, or our talit, or our sidur. We grasp and shake the lulav and etrog at Sukkot, or touch the mezuzah as we enter a home. Some people take great pleasure in being elbow deep in charoset, just hours before the Seder. As Jews, we cannot touch God, but we can touch the objects that create an intimacy with God. There are two important things to remember when applying the 5 love languages to our relationships with God. The first is that, unlike human beings, God appreciates all 5 equally. Just as God gave the Torah in 70 languages and can understand prayers spoken in any language, God can appreciate love conveyed in any love language. The second is that in my examples, the languages are reversed. The original love language in the book was receiving gifts, but tzedakah is giving a gift. When Chapman writes about physical touch, he means receiving physical touch, but nigiyah is offering touch. My view of Gary Chapman's 5 love languages is heavily influenced by the philosophy of Rabbi Mordecai Kaplan, who was one of the great Jewish thinkers of the 20th century. Kaplan believed that the essence of our relationship with God was how we interacted with other human beings. Kaplan never wrote about miracles or hearing God's voice. He was far too rational for that. Instead, he took God as a metaphor that drew life from the aspirations and accomplishments of human beings. So too, when I speak of tzedakah or gemilut chasadim, I am placing human beings created in the image of God to represent God and receive your love. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are a time to reflect on our love for God and God's love for us. We recount biblical stories intended to reflect God's love. God praises Abraham's faithfulness at the end of the Akedah, Shevach. God includes Abraham in on his plan to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and then hears Abraham's righteous argument in defense of the cities, Yichud. God hears Hannah's prayer and helps her to conceive, Gemilut Chasadim. We enter these holidays as we do every year to remember our deeds, to ask for forgiveness and to seek atonement. Underlying this process is love. When we remember our actions, the ones that stand out, especially the times we failed, are often our interactions with the ones we love. We primarily seek to repair our relationships with the people we love. And atonement is granted by a God who loves us and welcomes us back in love. We Reformed Jews don't speak very often about loving God or God loving us. For many of us, it sounds too, okay, I'll say it, Christian. But no people who was redeemed from slavery by God to be a free people can exist without divine love. And no people who gathers annually to plead for grace and mercy in the name of Avinu Malkeinu, our parent, our ruler, can think it does not love God. The love is there. But we as Jews gathered on Rosh Hashanah must find the vocabulary, the languages to express it, and the awareness to feel it. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha. It is less a command than a set of instructions. Understanding, as Mordecai Kaplan did, that our fellow human beings may serve as representatives of God can help us fulfill these instructions. Knowing that love can be expressed in 5 Jewish love languages, Shevach, Tzedakah, Gemilut Chasadim, Yichud, and Nigiyah, can help us fulfill these instructions. This season is meant to be one of renewal and return for every member of our community. It is a uniquely Jewish process inspired by God and motivated by love. Shana Tova. service continues with our Kiddush for Yom Tov, which is found beginning on page 78 of Mishkan HaNefesh. Please rise if you are able for the Kiddush.
Lift this cup for the year that is gone, the mountaintop moments and the taste of joy. Celebrations shared, milestones met, all we've mastered and achieved since last we met. For wedding rings, tears, and kisses under the chuppah, new babies' first words and first steps. For the children who bless our homes and bring life to our community. For the B'nai Mitzvah and confirmands, young teachers of this holy congregation. Ours to cherish and guide with love. For beloved wives and husbands, sisters and brothers. For loyal friends who grow more precious with each passing year. For this community which nourishes us all. For all we've learned, for all we've struggled through. For challenges surmounted and disappointments met with courage. For last moments shared with those we've loved and lost. For parents and grandparents whose memories are with us forever. We lift this cup for the year that is gone, for the year that begins. May we meet it in strength, in unity, in hope. We lift life's cup and celebrate survival. So may we sanctify each day that is ours. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen. Amen.
We remain standing at this time as we turn to page 82 in our Machzor, and we continue with the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'ateidu l'alion sereshit shelo asanu tigoyei harasot velo samanu mishkot adama shelo
seated as we turn to page 85. May the time not be distant, our God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when lies and bigotry shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. So may all, created in your image, become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Turn now to page 87 for a reading to introduce the mourner's patter. These things I know, how the living go on living, and how the dead go on living with them, so that in a forest, even a dead tree casts a shadow, and the leaves fall one by one, and the branches break in the wind, and the bark peels off slowly, and the trunk cracks, and the rain seeps in through the cracks, and the trunk falls to the ground, and the moss covers it, and in the spring the rabbits find it and build their nest inside the dead tree, so that nothing is wasted in nature or in love. We turn now to page 90. Please rise if you are able for the mourner's Yitgadal, Yitzhak, Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma, Divra, V'nutei, Yamli, Mamutei, Chayekon, V'vechon, Chayei, Tevol, Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala, B'zman Karev, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah, Mevorach, Me'olam, Bo'omei Almaya, Yitzbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yizbar, V'yizman, V'yitzaseh, Yitadar, Yizaleh, Yizaleh, Shmei, Krisha, Rikhu, Le'ela, U'le'ela, Yitol, Mirchata, V'shirata, Tishvihata, V'nechemata, Gamiran, Be'ona, V'yuru, Amen. Yehei Shalom, Rabba, Mishmaya, V'chayim, Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'yuru, Amen. Oseh Shalom, B'romav, U'ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'yimru. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. Our closing song is found on page 95 of our Machzor. We join together in singing Return Again.
Return
turn to page 98 for a blessing for the new year. Our God and God of all generations before us, may it be your will in the coming year to grant us, as we read responsibly, a year of abundance and atonement,
A year of blessings bestowed and received.
a year of community and compassion,
A year of love and reconciliation.
a year of enlightenment,
A year of friendship and forgiveness.
a year of going up in gladness to the land of Israel,
A year of health and healing and healing.
a year of inner strength and well-being,
A year of joy and Jewish celebration.
a year of knowledge and learning for its own sake,
A year of love between parents and children, friends and spouses, brothers and sisters.
a year of mitzvot and moments of sweetness,
A year of nature protected and enjoyed.
a year of optimism and hope,
A year of peace pursued with perseverance.
a year of quiet and tranquility,
A year of rain in its season.
a year of song and spiritual growth,
A year of Torah study and tikkun olam.
a year of understanding and unity,
A year of vows fulfilled and violence overcome.
a year of wisdom acquired and shared,
A year of coexistence among the families of the earth.
a year of young and old reaching out to one another,
A year of Zion and global light for us and all the world.
Our God and God of the generations before us, grant us a year of gratitude to you for the most profound of blessings, your gift of life. Yehi ratzon milfanecha, Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, shetichadesh aleinu shana tova u'tukat. Our God and God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strength. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. We have reached the end of our Erev Rosh Hashanah service. If you've been watching us on live stream, you can post something in the chat or comment section, like your hope for the new year or your favorite song that Temple Emeth sang this evening. Or you can simply post what we in the sanctuary will now say to one another. As we conclude our service, we turn to one another and we say,
Shana Tova.
Feeling hot?